Hey G-Fans, GojiFan93 here, and today I'm going to be doing my Q&A video. This is actually Q&A number 6, actually. Way back in 2015 was actually Q&A number 5 for the channel. So yeah, I'm bringing the Q&As back. I thought that that'd be fun to do in the meantime. And yeah, so let's get started. The first thing that I want to say also is I'm only going to be doing one question per person because a couple of you guys were like putting like 4 questions per person, so I'm not going to be able to get to all of it. So just for future reference, when it comes to Q&As, I'm only going to be doing one question per person, so you guys can hold those other questions for a future time. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I posted on Discord and YouTube, in the YouTube community tab of the kind of questions that you guys wanted to ask me. So I'm going to start with the Discord community, and the first question is actually from Quinncraftables, a very good friend of mine, Sean, from the Kenshin Studios squad. He asks, World Apocalypse Remake, when? That's a good one, Sean. You're funny. You're very funny, you know that? Yeah, you got a funny sense of humor going there. No, I don't know. We've talked about it. Nico and I have talked about it in terms of a, World Apocalypse remake. Maybe one day. I have no idea. We'll see. Next question is from Godzilla Reader. He asks, any kaiju that you would like to see make a comeback? Yeah, I would like to see Anger's make a comeback. Anger's has been woefully underutilized in the franchise. I desperately want to see Anger's come back, whether it is in a new Toho film or even in the Monsterverse. I would actually love to see a Monsterverse interpretation of Anger's. I think that that would be a very fantastic thing. Next, from Akno Goji asks, if you were to make a Godzilla movie, what would it be like? So I actually remember getting this question a lot, I think almost in every other Q&A video, and I've also gotten this kind of question just throughout my time in the community. If I were to make a Godzilla film, I mean, the closest thing I can come to is that it would be Wrath of the Hybrid, because that was a fan film that I was a part of during the script writing process and all that. So, I mean, if I were to make a film, I in terms of like that, I think would be where I would go. But it would definitely have Heisei vibes to it. It would be a serious kind of tone film. I wouldn't have Godzilla as a hero or anything. I'd have him as sort of this anti-hero kind of deal. Exactly pretty much how he was like in the Heisei series. Yeah, that's pretty much my answer. Okay, this is the last question on Discord from Mechagatezilla. Which Godzilla movie soundtracks do you think are really underrated and underappreciated? So this is a really good one. I actually think the soundtracks that are underappreciated, I'm gonna have to go with my man, Godzilla 1984. I think that soundtrack is woefully underrated as well and not appreciated as much. I also think that the Godzilla 2000 soundtrack is also something that goes sort of under the radar. A lot of people don't really talk about that soundtrack a lot. I really like that soundtrack. In terms of the Showa series, I would have to say maybe Godzilla's Revenge or Son of Godzilla, and I know that those films aren't really particularly my favorite in terms of overall, but the soundtracks actually to those films are really good. So yeah, I would say that those films are decently underrated soundtracks. Oh, also Godzilla 2014. I think Alexander Desplat. I don't know if I pronounced his name right, but that soundtrack, the 2014 one, is actually very, very good. Alright, so moving on to the YouTube community posts, we have from Samuel G 2000. So again, I'm just going to go with the first question that you asked, and for those other 3 questions, just, we'll do in a future Q&A. So the first question he asked is, what other ideas / plans do you have for this channel, with it being a hobby and all? So yeah, I mentioned that in my update video that I posted last time. So right now, I stopped doing those reactions to older GojiFan videos because it started to get really old really quick. Actually, I was getting kind of bored watching myself. So I stopped doing that for a little bit, wanted to take a break on that. And I've been really focusing on the kaiju edits. I've been actually having a lot of fun doing those. It's just really cool to see the films without the human stuff like there. It's just nice to see just the monsters just doing their thing. Like, it's really cool, and it kind of gives the film, like, if you know the story, you know what's going on, but it's sort of like there's no dialogue in the story, so you kind of have to piece together what's going on in there, but even though it's just monsters fighting. But I have been finding it very fun to do. And yes, I want to get to more of my bigger like video ideas, like top 10s and reviews and let's plays and things like that. I do want to get to those in the future. It's just right now I've been having to do very like quick content because I just have not had the time to do so. But I definitely go check out the update video. Those are the types of content that are coming down the pipeline. All right, next from Awesome Productions. The first question he says is, do you want to see more original monsters in future Monsterverse movies, or should they prioritize getting more classic monsters from Toho and other companies in the films? So I actually do think it'd be cool to see the Monsterverse have some more original monsters. I think the Muto character, Kaiju, is fantastic. Like, I thought they were really cool and a really cool addition to Godzilla's Rogues Gallery. So I would love to see more original monsters. I mean, yes, it is cool to see the classic monsters be re-envisioned in this Hollywood style. I think as long as it's maybe like a good balance between both, I think that would be pretty cool to see. I would like to see original Kaiju, but then at the same time, yeah, it'd be great to see some classic monsters too. From Seth Nomaski, hopefully I said your name right, what is your favorite / least favorite Godzilla comic series and why? So I actually have not delved into the comics as much. I know way back in the day, I think it was 2013 or whatever, I did buy a couple of the Godzilla Legends comics, and I think I was starting to get into Godzilla's Rulers of Earth, but that was really it. I actually have not kept up with the comic book series at all. I've seen Godzilla in Hell, I've seen that on the internet. That looks pretty, cool. But to be honest, I'm not even in that world. Maybe one day I'd get into it. Maybe I'd look at some, because I know like on YouTube they actually have some visual novel styles where it's like you watch it but there's like dialogue and sound effects. Maybe I'd want to watch it that way because I'm just not a big comic book reader. I was a big comic book reader back in the day when I was like a kid, but now I don't know, comic books aren't really that entertaining to me as much. But maybe one day, we'll see. From Lucas Rudin, what's your favorite film that isn't Godzilla related or Kaiju related? So yeah, there are a lot of films that I have seen in my time that are not Kaiju related. So I would say pretty much when it comes to like sci-fi, Star Wars is a big thing. Star Wars Episode 3 in particular is my favorite Star Wars film of all time. So yeah, I mean, if I had to pick something other than Godzilla, it would be Star Wars Episode 3. That would be like one of my favorite films. But other than that, there's a ton more. Like in terms of superheroes, actually, I don't know if you guys can see it, but the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy is one of my all-time favorite films too. So, the GojiFan93's, what would you say are your top 5 favorite non-Godzilla Kaiju movies? So again, I just said like Episode 3, Star Wars, and even the original trilogy too, of course. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man and probably like Iron Man for like the superhero stuff. But again, there's so many films I can't even think of them off the top of my head. But I'm a big like action guy, horror movie buff guy. So really a lot of stuff in that genre is what I like. Harbirth02, he asks, what would be the 5 Godzilla movies you would show to a friend who knows next to nothing about Godzilla? So yeah, if I had a friend who had no idea what Godzilla was, actually pretty much I would do what I've been doing with my fiance. She obviously had no idea what was Godzilla and anything like that. So I would definitely show them the original first. Like, you have to show them the classic first because they need to have some kind of basis on where the franchise started. You can't start them with like the Monsterverse stuff or something that looks newer because you're gonna spoil them. So like, you need to show them where this series started from. And even if they might not appreciate it for what that was, at least they'll get a foundation of like, okay, it was like a 50s, sci-fi B-movie monster movie, right? Okay, fine, like, there you go. So it would be that one that I would show them. Then I would probably move them to 84 because technically The Return of Godzilla is a sequel to 1954. I mean, it literally is like the direct sequel because, everything else in between didn't exist in the Heisei series. So I would show them that again, only because it's just continuing to show them how the franchise evolved, in the next era. I wouldn't really show them anything from the Millennium series because the Millennium series doesn't really have anything connective tissue from the Heisei stuff. So, I know that everything connects to the original, but in terms of like the Millennium series, I don't really see anything that's like super grounded. I would probably move them then to 2014. I would have them watch the Monsterverse stuff. I'd probably have them really watch 2014 Kong Skull Island, and then King of the Monsters, then Godzilla vs. Kong. And then after that, which I think is 5, I think that's right. But then after that, I would probably then go back, show them a few of the Millennium stuff, and then maybe if they'd be interested to watch the anime series or something like that. So that's where I'd go. Oh, and Shin Godzilla. I would show them Shin Godzilla, but I think I would show them Shin Godzilla after I would show them the Monsterverse stuff. Because if they hopefully got into the franchise, like if they started to get excited about it, then I'll show them Shin Godzilla and see what they think. So that's what I would do. From Bobby Reynolds, if you got stuck on an island and you brought 3 movies, 3 TV shows, and 3 games, what would they be? Geez, okay, there's a lot of these questions about like non-Godzilla stuff, which is cool. I like that. So, okay, if I had to bring 3 movies, okay, well again, like I said, it would be 1984 from Godzilla, be Star Wars Episode 3, and I want to say Spider-Man 1 or 2 from Sam Raimi. I'd probably go with Spider-Man 1 just because I feel like I have more nostalgia with that one. So those would be my 3 movies. 3 TV shows. I'm going to assume that this counts as anime series as well. So I would bring Attack on Titan because that's a really nice show. It's long. It has a lot of episodes. It has a lot of cool character moments and just cool visuals. I would probably bring The Walking Dead maybe because that's a really good series too. I mean, like maybe, you know, after season 6 or something, maybe it started like when Negan came in, maybe, I don't know. But it's still like an intriguing show. Gosh, anything after that? You know, the problem is I'm not too big of a TV show guy. Like I haven't watched a lot of TV show stuff, but maybe The Mandalorian. Maybe season 1 and 2, not really season 3. I wasn't too hot with Mandalorian season 3, but maybe the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian would be good ones. Or actually, now I think about it, the Clone Wars. That series would probably be what I'd bring. And then 3 video games. That's easier. Probably Metroid Prime on the GameCube, or well, now the Switch remaster. Halo 2, and maybe God of War 2? Not Ragnarok, I meant the classic God of War games. That's probably what I would bring. Or maybe one of the EDF games, I'm not really sure. That's a tough question, very tough question, thank you. Alright, next from Scarlett. What are you most looking forward to in the next Godzilla movie made by Toho that's coming out this year? So what I am most excited about and most jazzed about when it comes to this new Toho film is the fact that it is in feudal Japan. Like it is like prior to 1954. And I don't know if the film is like a prequel to 1954. I think it's still its own self-contained story. But the fact that it takes place even earlier in Japan's history, I find amazing. Like that's an amazing setting to me. Like I can't wait to see how that's gonna pan out because they don't have like military, right? Like you don't have tanks and guns and stuff to fight them off. Like so it's gonna be really cool to see how I guess humans are gonna like take them on, and I really hope that it delves into more of the mythical side of Godzilla because 1954 started that like with the whole like, oh yeah, like Godzilla was this mythical being, and then they sent out, you know, like they had sacrifices that they put out into the ocean, you know, to, you know, I don't know, appease Godzilla or something like that. But I am just so excited to see what they're going to do with it and just how the overall setting is going to be. I am super stoked for that. From Godzilla 1985, which of the legendary Godzilla designs is your favorite? So the legendary Godzilla design is pretty much the same throughout all the films, but I'd say that he, like the small changes throughout the iterations has gotten better. I'd say the Kong versus Godzilla, or the Godzilla versus Kong design is the best version of the legendary Godzilla because they've continued to refine his, you know, dorsal plates. They've made him really bulky and like give him, you know, personality and stuff. I mean the legendary design is what it is, and they've just continued to iterate on top of it in every film, which I think is kind of cool. Like it keeps Godzilla sort of fresh, but it still has the familiar design. So I'd say the latest one is probably the best. Lord, have you watched Kamen Rider? I got into it because of the SJHU collaboration in Battleline, and I've been enjoying the franchise so far, and also thoughts on Battleline. So I'll say this first, my thoughts on Battleline, I think it's a waste of time. I don't like mobile games like that. I think it's a time waster. I don't know why Godzilla has been subjected to horrible mobile games for the last few years. I mean, we literally had like 3 come out last year or something like that, and they were all awful. And then this Battleline game, which I can understand how some people like it, but I just don't get it. Like, I don't want a game where I just click on my phone. Like, give me a fighting game, man. Like, why is it so hard for Toho to do that? But, so I'm not a fan of Battleline. In terms of Kamen Rider, I have not watched Kamen Rider. I've seen clips here and there on YouTube, but I have never sat down and actually taken the time to watch Kamen Rider. I have a slight interest in it, but it's similar to Ultraman, where I want to sort of get into it, but at the same time, I just don't have the time to invest in a series like that, because that series is just as big as Ultraman. It's like over 70 years, I think, of content for that. So I would have to be in the really right mindset and have the time to sit down and watch it. But I have a slight interest in it, yeah. All right, this is the second to, actually no, this is the last question from Seeing Flick. What are some movies or shows you've watched recently or that you want to watch? So yeah, recent movies that I have watched. Goodness, well, Mandalorian Season 3 was out, and that was kind of a meh thing. Funny enough, my fiance and I right now, we're actually going through a Disney marathon. We're watching like all the classic Disney movies, so technically Pinocchio is like the last Disney movie that we saw. And then I've shown her like a few of the Marvel movies that we've been trying to catch up with. I showed her like Black Panther, and the 2 Ant-Man movies. We're about to watch the 3rd Ant-Man movie, which I'm afraid, because I've heard bad things about it, but we'll see. And then I want to see Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I'm super stoked about that. I love that trilogy. I love Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that's great. Yeah, I mean, that's, I can't really think of anything else that I've seen. Oh wait, no, there was, what was it? I saw it, it was a show called The Bear. It was like this, about this restaurant and this guy trying to keep the restaurant alive, and it was just like a very intense show. Like, it made me have anxiety just watching it, because it's like, this is what it's like working in a restaurant, I guess, like behind the scenes, and just how intense the place can be. But yeah, The Bear, I think is what it's called. That was a really good show too. But yeah, that's kind of on my radar right now in terms of shows and movies to watch. All right, guys. Well, that'll do it for this Q&A. Thank you all so much for commenting and asking questions. Again, I know that some of you asked like 4 or 5 different questions, but just hold off on those for the next one, because I just want to do 1 question per person so that everyone has the right amount of time. But yeah, I'll be trying to do this a little more often with the Q&As, maybe once a month or something like that. I'm not going to promise once a month, but I want to do it a little bit more often, because I feel like it's really fun to do. So yeah, but that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, stay big, G fans.